It was 3:30. I deposited the contents of my desk into my briefcase, helped myself to a handful of MOT forms, and walked out of the building, across the forecourt, across the road, and into an off-license, where I bought 3 cans of beer with all the money I had on me, for I'd forgotten to go to the bank, and retreated to the privacy of my car. I opened a can and began to feel a little sick, but this sensation soon passed, to be replaced by one of bitterness and resentment, not so much against my former employer, as at the general circumstances of the world which had once more conspired against me. I noticed a moderation of the euphoria which had swept me through the previous weeks, and in some ways this constituted a relief, though mostly it was rather a worry, as there was not much to be said for running out of petrol, so to speak, at precisely the point at which one had managed to run into the ditch. On further reflection, however, it seemed only too predictable that events should have taken such a turn, and I began to be a little depressed. I saw a carefree future slipping away, a comfortable flat, a nostalgic car, perhaps one day a devoted lover. All this gave way to a vision of hopeless emptiness, and yet it was strange that such an image of a possible future should be conjured up with such certainty only on the occasion of its denial. It was as if it was only when failure implied the loss of some desired objective that it seemed possible to know what it might have been, or rather that apparent failure had obliged me to invent a lost goal, for security and domestic bliss had never really been my ambition during the previous months when everything had gone so well. I had no real desire for this false idyll, this petty bourgeois Sunday. How clever are the ways in which society impresses its authority on men's minds! No, surely this was not the good life that I seemed in danger of losing. A string of temporary addresses, a number of casual liaisons, and a collection of second-hand cars, but above all, the ability to drift. These seemed the major characteristics of the life that I had been leading. In retrospect, it didn't seem quite so good, but it had its good points, and they certainly formed no part of the vision of suburban contentment I had for some reason conjured up. No, there were other ways of living one's life. I might be in the ditch, but men do not run out of spirit in quite the same way as cars. There was still a little time to take corrective measures. I opened another can and looked at the cars passing on the North Circular. Who could tell what thoughts were forming in the heads of the drivers of these tin hulks? It was evident that all men do not do the same things in the same way, and there are, after all, only a few short times in one's life that one can really use to advantage. This seemed to be one of them. It was in this frame of mind that my thoughts turned to the large sum of money that I knew my former employer kept in his house.